need of encouragement, I was about to call them gutless wonders, but I won't be that hard. We gave them their backbone. They stood up, they took a firm stand, and in the middle of the night, conspiring with people like Teddy Kennedy, this person who is now said to be the presumptive nominee of our party, made a compromise that destroyed it all. That wasn't just a few minutes of work, y'all. That wasn't even just a few years of work. That was 40 years of work down the toilet because of a compromise engineered in the middle of the night that cut the ground out from under all the good work that has been done by our people during all that time. But I wish it was the only thing. But a wholesale assault on the very existence of grassroots organizations in the form of the McCain Fund bill that bears his name. A bill that actually to this day is strangling the life out of conservative organizations, making it impossible for them to raise money, communicate, and do the things that are essential and have been essential to build up the strength of the core values of the Republican Party. Now, I don't know about you, but I think we're in pretty desperate times when people out there in 2006 and at other times have been turning their backs on our party. Why? Is it because the Democrats are so good? The Democrats are just as bad as they've always been. In fact, with this inexperienced, ungodly crop of basic traitors that they are throwing up now in the form of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, they're worse than they've ever been. So if we've been losing ground, it isn't because Democrats are good. It's because our own people have listened to us, have voted for us, have supported us on the strength of our promises of limited government and fiscal responsibility. And instead, what did they get? The freest spending Congresses in the history of our country, wearing to the shame of all of us a Republican label. How did this happen? I used to get this from people in airports and everywhere I go. They come to me like I was responsible. They say, what's going on in Washington? Why are you people spending money like drunken sailors? And they kept saying that until I finally have to remind them that drunken sailors spend their own money. So our Congress is actually worse than a bunch of drunken sailors. And then the concern over immigration erupts. And we see a response that leaves our people feeling betrayed. And time and again, and I noticed it in the run-up to 2006 and since, it seems like every time, sadly, our President G.W. Bush opened his mouth, he made people angrier with us on the border issue. Because he didn't seem to hear, he didn't seem to get it. And neither did a lot of our people. But who was the poster child of that betrayal on the border? The suggestion that this is our preemptive and presumptive nominee. It's either suicidal or it's an effort to spit in the face of our own grassroots. Tell them they don't matter anymore, we don't care what they do, and that we're going to go down the road that they deeply feel will betray them and the country, and we're going to stick it in their eyes, because they're going to have to vote for us no matter what. Okay? And that's what some people seem to be planning to do. I call it the boogeyman strategy. Here's the boogeyman Obama, the boogeyman Clinton, and therefore you got to vote for this Republican over here, even if he's standing for everything you hate. You know why I can't stand this idea? We're supposed to have representative government. If we go to the polls and are stampeded and manipulated into voting for empty labels where the people wearing those labels don't represent us, then we don't have representative government anymore. When you start voting for people who don't represent you, and you're voting for them because, well, it's so bad over there, you're voting for the lesser of evils. That's tyranny. Because you know how people were governed through most of human history? People said, over here you have war, and you have famine, and you have difficulty, and without us you won't avoid all of that. So support us, we're the lesser of evils. We didn't get freedom at all for the masses of people until they finally realized that that lesser of evils thing meant that you'd always be enslaved. That most human beings consider war to be the greatest evil, and so to avoid war, they would accept tyranny. They would accept slavery. They would accept peonage. They would accept servitude. That's un-American. That's not who we are. We don't have to put up with the lesser of evils. We vote for that which represents our liberties. We vote for that which represents the godly authority and principles that establish that liberty as our birthright. And we vote for policies that reflect the expanded sphere of the horizons and possibilities of that freedom. Or we lose. And that's why I stood up to run. On March 4th, you could have a choice. I don't know, to tell you the truth, at this stage, will it affect the nomination or not? The media is trying to convince us it's all over. If you sit down and look carefully at what really goes on in the delegate selection process and the numbers, this is false. And you ought to know it's false. Why? Because what is arguably, from a conservative point of view, the most important state in this union hasn't spoken yet. And that's Texas. They used to have a saying in the hockey, I think it was derived in any way from hockey, because in Philadelphia, the games were always ended when this lady, who happened to be sizable, the lady would get up and in an operatic voice she would sing "God Bless America," and then it meant the game was over. And so there was that phrase you've all heard, that game's not over till the fat lady sings. Well, which state do you think qualifies as the fat lady in America? The one that if you haven't heard from them yet, then you haven't heard from America. And I think that means voters in Texas bear a special responsibility this time. We have the strongest, most solid base of conservatism, the one that has been providing heart, encouragement, and example for people all over this country. And you all haven't spoken yet. If you decide to go along to get along, the message you send will be a message that in essence declares that real conservatism is dead, and that the media and the party bosses and other people who are trying to redefine things so that they have the word Reagan on their lips while removing everything that represents Reagan conservatism from the real substance of this party, they'll win. But on the other hand, the voters in Texas just stand up and do what they did in 1976, when they handed Ronald Reagan a victory that announced that conservatism was alive and well in America, and they paved the way for its constructive future. And maybe there'll be some hope. I'm hoping for it and working for it, and my name is on the ballot in an effort to represent that good conservative choice. Because if we send that message, we may very well save this country. You know why? Because right now, conservatives all over America are feeling brokenhearted and discouraged and dismayed, and they're backing away from the political process. We could very well get to a point where they would back away far enough that a little rump of leftist Republicans and Democrats would be deciding the fate of America. Do we want this to happen? I don't think so. Somewhere along the way, in the midst of this confusing and dismaying political cycle, somebody's got to do something to offer the bedrock conservative majority that exists in America the hope that there is still a hope for principle, that there is still a hope for real liberty, that there is still a hope for preserving our government on a constitutional basis. Now, I went to school in Texas for 4 years in San Antonio. Some people say that may be why I come by my sort of ornery reputation on the street. I don't know. But I do know this. The state is kind of a state that has a reputation for ornery folks. Folks who are just not going to lie down and take it. I hope that that's still true. I hope that something of that spirit I learned about at the Alamo, the real spirit, is still alive. The spirit that fights for what is right and does what is right and keeps to the path of what they believe to be best for their nation no matter what. And that does so even when the whole world says it's hopeless and that the only thing that you'll get for it is death and defeat. Because sometimes just standing your ground will be victory enough to assure the courage and the heart that leads to victory for all. I think if Texas voters can have that kind of courage right now, they will score a victory for the spirit and heart and conscience and future of America. They will rouse the hope of good-hearted people all over this country, and we will see them continue to march forward no matter what, to secure the victories at every level that are needed to guarantee that the conservative heart will beat on in America until it brings our liberty and our self-government back to life. God bless you.